Though the Bible calls Nebuchadnezzar the father of the next king we're going to read about, that's Belshazzar, by the way, there is some discrepancy about the actual lineage. The bottom line, however, is this. At the time Daniel 5 was written, Belshazzar was ruling Babylon as co-regent with his father Nabonidus. One night, secure in his seemingly impregnable walled city, Belshazzar throws a party and makes the mistake of blasphemously drinking out of the vessels that had been taken out of the Jewish temple some 70 years earlier. These were vessels dedicated to God himself, vessels that were specifically built for use in the temple, not for common use. Belshazzar should have known that. But what does he care? He is king and can do as he pleases, right? Not quite. The Bible records what happened that night. In Daniel 5:3-7 we read, "Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another." Daniel 5:3-6. Don't bother laugh. If you were the king and you saw a hand writing on the wall in front of you or behind you, just a hand without a body, just a hand, maybe with piece of chalk or something, writing on the wall, you would have frightened too. For you need them would have knocked too. Anyway, back to the Bible. The king cried out to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and the king spake and said unto his wise men of Babylon, "Whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom." That's Daniel 5:7. Notice he says, third ruler in the kingdom. That's because various ancient inscriptions and writings inform us that Belshazzar was actually co-ruler or co-regent with his father Nabonidus. The long and the short of it is that they called for Daniel again, who by this time is an old man. Daniel, of course, promptly explains what the writing by this mostly invisible hand means. He begins by rehearsing the history of King Nebuchadnezzar and his dealings with the God of Israel. Then he comes to the point. This is the writing that was written. Mene, mene, tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. That's Daniel 5:25-28.